Everyone talks about V8s when it comes to American performance, but what if I told you one of the most legendary American engines wasn't a V8 at all? In fact, it wasn't even made by the Big Three. Today we're diving deep into the AMC 232 and 258 cubic inch inline-six engines, motors that powered everything from economy cars to Jeeps, and somehow managed to outlast the very company that created them. These weren't just any inline sixes. These were torque monsters that could pull a house off its foundation. Engines so reliable they're still running today, decades after AMC closed its doors. And here's the kicker. One variant of this engine family stayed in production for over 4 decades. 4 decades! Let's explore why the AMC Inline-Six became the engine that refused to die. To understand the AMC Inline-Six, we need to go back to 1964. American Motors Corporation was the scrappy underdog of Detroit, formed from the merger of Nash and Hudson in 1954. While General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler were locked in a horsepower war with ever larger V8 engines, AMC was taking a different approach. They needed engines that were efficient, reliable, and cost-effective to produce. The AMC Inline-Six family debuted in 1964, but it wasn't the 232 or 258 we know today. The family started with the 199 cubic inch version, a 3.3-liter inline-six that was designed from the ground up to be AMC's workhorse engine. This wasn't some warmed-over design borrowed from another manufacturer. This was AMC's baby, engineered in-house by a team led by David Potter. What made this engine special right from the start was its robust construction. AMC didn't have the luxury of frequent engine redesigns like the Big Three, so they built this motor to last. The block was cast iron, thick-walled, and designed with 7 main bearings instead of the more common 4. That's right, 7 main bearings in an inline-six. This gave the crankshaft incredible support and made these engines virtually bulletproof. The cylinder head was also cast iron, featuring a cross-flow design with the intake on one side and exhaust on the other. This wasn't revolutionary, but it was effective and allowed for good breathing characteristics. The combustion chambers were wedge-shaped, which was becoming the standard for efficiency and power production in the mid-1960s. But here's where AMC showed their engineering prowess. They designed this engine family with expansion in mind. The block was engineered to accommodate different bore and stroke combinations, which would allow AMC to create multiple displacement variants without starting from scratch each time. This modular approach would prove to be genius, as it allowed AMC to stretch this engine family across multiple decades and applications. The initial 199 cubic inch version produced around 128 horsepower and 182 pound-feet of torque. Not earth-shaking numbers, but remember, this was 1964, and AMC was targeting fuel efficiency and reliability over raw power. The engine featured a single-barrel carburetor and a relatively mild camshaft profile, making it smooth and economical. In 1966, AMC introduced what many consider the sweet spot of the inline-six family, the 232 cubic inch engine. This 3.8-liter variant took the 199's 3.75-inch bore and stretched the stroke from 3.50 inches to 3.90 inches. The result was an additional 33 cubic inches of displacement and significantly more torque. The 232 produced around 145 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque in its initial form, representing a meaningful increase over the 199 while maintaining the same basic architecture. But power figures only tell part of the story. What made the 232 special was its torque curve. This engine produced usable power from just off idle all the way to its modest red line of around 4,500 RPM. This torque characteristic made the 232 perfect for a wide variety of applications. AMC used it in everything from the compact American and Classic models to the mid-size Rebel and Ambassador lines. The engine's flexibility meant it could haul a family sedan up a steep grade without breaking a sweat, yet still return respectable fuel economy in normal driving. The 232 featured several improvements over the 199. The most significant was the adoption of a two-barrel carburetor as standard equipment, which helped the engine breathe better and produce more power. AMC also refined the camshaft timing and valve train components, resulting in smoother operation and better durability. One of the most impressive aspects of the 232 was its construction quality. These engines were built like tanks, with thick cylinder walls, a robust bottom end, and components that were over-engineered for their power output. It wasn't uncommon to see 232s run well beyond 200,000 miles with nothing more than basic maintenance. But the 232 really showed its worth when AMC began using it in applications beyond passenger cars. In 1970, when AMC acquired the Jeep brand from Kaiser, the 232 found a new home under the hoods of CJ5s, CJ6s, and other Jeep models. The engine's low-end torque and bulletproof reliability made it perfect for off-road applications where dependability was more important than peak horsepower. The Jeep application also highlighted another strength of the AMC Inline-Six, its compact dimensions. Unlike a V8, the Inline-Six fit easily in the narrow engine bay of a CJ Jeep, while still providing more power and torque than the old Willys four-cylinder engines. This packaging advantage would become increasingly important as vehicle designs evolved. Throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, AMC continued to refine the 232. They improved the oiling system, upgraded the valve train components, and made subtle changes to the combustion chamber design. Each iteration made the engine more reliable and longer-lasting, even as emissions regulations began to tighten. In 1971, AMC introduced the engine that would become the most famous member of the Inline-Six family, the 258 cubic inch version. This 4.2-liter giant took the 232's proven architecture and stretched it even further, increasing the stroke from 3.90 inches to 4.0 inches while maintaining the same 3.75-inch bore. The additional displacement brought the 258's power output to around 150 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque in its initial configuration. But again, the raw numbers don't tell the whole story. The 258 produced massive amounts of low-end torque, making it feel much more powerful than its horsepower rating suggested. What made the 258 truly special was its flexibility. AMC offered this engine in multiple configurations throughout its production run. There was the base version with a single-barrel carburetor for maximum fuel economy, a two-barrel version for better performance, and even some high-output variants with more aggressive camshafts and better breathing. The 258 quickly became AMC's go-to engine for a wide variety of applications. It powered everything from the compact Gremlin and Hornet to the full-size Matador and Ambassador models. But perhaps more importantly, it became the heart and soul of the Jeep CJ series and later the Cherokee and Wagoneer models. In Jeep applications, the 258 was virtually unbeatable. Its torque output rivaled many small-block V8s, but it delivered that power at much lower RPMs where it was most useful for off-road driving. The engine could pull a Jeep up incredibly steep grades at little more than idle speed, making it perfect for rock crawling and technical off-road situations. The 258's construction was even more robust than the 232's. AMC had learned from years of experience with the Inline-Six family and incorporated numerous improvements. The block casting was refined to eliminate potential weak points, the crankshaft was strengthened, and the oiling system was upgraded to ensure reliable lubrication under all operating conditions. One of the most impressive aspects of the 258 was its ability to run under extreme conditions. These engines routinely operated in applications where they were subjected to constant high loads, extreme temperatures, and challenging operating environments. Whether it was powling a Cherokee through Death Valley or hauling a boat up a mountain pass, the 258 just kept running. The engine's reputation for reliability became legendary in the Jeep community. Many CJ and early Cherokee owners reported engines running well beyond 300,000 miles, with nothing more than regular oil changes and basic maintenance. There are documented cases of 258s running over 400,000 miles before requiring major work, which was virtually unheard of for engines of that era. Throughout the 1970s and into the 1980s, the AMC 258 continued to evolve. As emissions regulations became more stringent, AMC engineers worked tirelessly to maintain the engine's performance while meeting increasingly strict pollution standards. One of the most significant changes came in 1978 when AMC introduced a feedback carburetor system on the 258. This early attempt at emissions control used an oxygen sensor in the exhaust stream to monitor air-fuel ratios and adjust the carburetor accordingly. While primitive by today's standards, this system helped the 258 meet emissions requirements while maintaining reasonable drivability. The early 1980s brought even more changes as AMC struggled to keep up with rapidly evolving emissions and fuel economy standards. In 1981, the company introduced a computer command control system that managed various engine parameters, including ignition timing and carburetor operation. This was AMC's answer to the sophisticated engine management systems being developed by the Big Three. But perhaps the most significant development came in 1987, when Chrysler, which had acquired AMC the previous year, introduced fuel injection to the 258. The new multi-point fuel injection system transformed the old workhorse into a much more refined and efficient power plant. The fuel-injected 258 produced 177 horsepower and 224 pound-feet of torque, representing a significant increase over the carbureted versions. More importantly, the engine ran smoother, started better in cold weather, and delivered more consistent performance across all operating conditions. The fuel injection system also helped the engine meet increasingly strict emission standards while actually improving fuel economy. This fuel-injected version became the standard power plant for the Jeep Cherokee and Wagoneer models, where it served with distinction for several more years. The combination of the 258's legendary reliability and the improved performance and efficiency of fuel injection created what many consider to be the ultimate evolution of the AMC Inline-Six. But even as the 258 was reaching its peak development, its days were numbered. Chrysler had their own family of engines and saw no need to continue developing AMC's power plants. The writing was on the wall. The 258 would not survive the corporate transition. However, the engine's reputation had grown beyond just AMC and Jeep enthusiasts. Hot rodders and engine builders had discovered that the 258's robust construction made it an excellent foundation for performance modifications. The 7-main-bearing crankshaft, thick cylinder walls, and strong block castings could handle significant power increases with relatively simple modifications. Performance enthusiasts learned that the 258 responded well to typical hot rod modifications like performance camshafts, improved cylinder heads, and better breathing systems. Some builders were able to extract over 300 horsepower from 258s using aggressive builds with turbochargers or superchargers, proving that there was much more potential in the old Inline-Six than most people realized. No discussion of the AMC 258 would be complete without talking about its relationship with Jeep. When AMC acquired Jeep in 1970, they inherited a lineup of vehicles powered by aging engines that were in desperate need of updating. The 258 proved to be the perfect solution. In CJ applications, the 258 transformed the Jeep driving experience. Previous CJ models had been powered by either the old Willys Go Devil 4-cylinder or the Buick 225 V6, neither of which provided the kind of low-end torque that serious off-roaders demanded. The 258 changed all that. The engine's torque output was perfect for crawling over rocks at extremely low speeds. Unlike high-revving engines that required constant clutch work and throttle modulation, the 258 could pull a CJ up seemingly impossible obstacles at little more than idle speed. This characteristic made it beloved by serious off-road enthusiasts who valued tractability over peak power. But the 258's impact on Jeep went beyond just the CJ series. When AMC introduced the Cherokee in 1984, they needed an engine that could provide V8-like performance in a package that would fit in the Cherokee's relatively compact engine bay. The 258 was the perfect choice. In Cherokee applications, the 258 provided the kind of towing capacity and highway performance that customers demanded from a full-size SUV, but in a more efficient and reliable package than most V8 alternatives. The engine's ability to produce substantial torque at low RPMs made it ideal for towing boats, trailers, and other heavy loads. The Cherokee also showcased the 258's versatility. The same basic engine that could crawl over rocks in a CJ could also cruise comfortably at highway speeds while returning respectable fuel economy. This flexibility made the Cherokee one of the most successful SUVs of the 1980s and helped establish the template for modern sport utility vehicles. Throughout its time in Jeep applications, the 258 built a reputation for absolute reliability that has become legendary. Many Cherokee owners reported trouble-free operation for hundreds of thousands of miles, with some engines still running strong after more than 400,000 miles of service. This reliability wasn't accidental. It was the result of AMC's conservative engineering approach and robust construction methods. The 258 was designed to operate continuously under high loads and extreme conditions, making normal passenger car duty seem like a vacation. By the early 1990s, the writing was on the wall for the AMC 258. Chrysler's acquisition of AMC in 1987 had brought new engine technologies and corporate priorities. The 258, despite its legendary reliability and performance, was seen as an outdated design that didn't fit with Chrysler's future plans. In 1990, Chrysler introduced their 4.0-liter Inline-Six as a replacement for the 258. While the new engine shared some basic architecture concepts with the AMC design, it was essentially a clean-sheet development that incorporated modern features like aluminum heads, multi-valve technology, and sophisticated engine management systems. The last 258s rolled off the production line in 1990, ending a remarkable 19-year run for the 258 and a 26-year run for the AMC Inline-Six family. But even though production had ended, the engine's influence continued to be felt. Many of the 258s produced during the 1980s are still running today, a testament to the engine's incredible durability and the quality of AMC's engineering. In the enthusiast community, the 258 has achieved cult status, with dedicated following among Jeep owners, AMC enthusiasts, and even some hot rodders who appreciate the engine's potential for modification. The 258's legacy also lives on in the lessons it taught about engine design and durability. The AMC engineers who developed this engine family understood that reliability and longevity were just as important as peak power output, a philosophy that influenced engine design throughout the industry. Today, a good-running 258 is actually worth more than it was when new, as collectors and enthusiasts seek out these engines for restoration projects and performance builds. The engine that was once seen as a simple, workmanlike power plant has become a respected piece of American automotive history. So there you have it, the story of the AMC 232 and 258 Inline-Six engines, the motors that refused to die. These weren't the most powerful engines of their era, and they weren't the most sophisticated, but they were exactly what they needed to be: reliable, torquey, and built to last. In a world obsessed with V8s and high-revving multi-valve designs, the AMC Inline-Six proved that sometimes the simple approach is the best approach. These engines served faithfully in everything from economy cars to rock-crawling Jeeps, and many are still running strong today, decades after the last one rolled off the production line. What's your experience with AMC Inline-Sixes? Have you owned a Jeep or AMC vehicle powered by one of these legendary motors? Drop a comment below and share your story. And if you enjoyed learning about this overlooked piece of American automotive history, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the engines that shaped our automotive landscape. Thanks for watching.